You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, guess what? The Players Union actually sent a counter proposal to the WNBA. And the WNBA promptly rejected it into outer space. They Dikembe Mutombo'd that thing right back into the sun and said, we are not doing this revenue sharing thing. We keep telling you that.
The WNBA didn't merely reject the players' latest proposal, they obliterated it. A resounding no reverberated through league offices. AdamSilver's administration moved quickly, branding the entire package as unrealistic and drawing a firm line over gross revenue-sharing demands that, in the league's view, would decimate profitability. This wasn't a negotiation, it was an unequivocal shutdown, escalating a standoff that now threatens the season's very start. Players' core demands collide head-on with the unyielding realities of business, sparking an immediate and explosive crisis. The league's stance was unmistakable: no deal on these terms. Period. This rejection goes far beyond numbers. It strikes at the very philosophy underpinning the WNBA, directly confronting player positions that appear to overlook financial realities. This is not just about money. It's about control, sustainability, and a fundamental ideological divide with the potential to unravel the league. The WNBA's response was swift, unflinching, and leaves no ambiguity. They weren't merely saying no, they were saying absolutely not, sending a stark message to the players' union that these core demands are non-starters. This outright dismissal signals the emergence of a monumental crisis.
Just write this off as an owner, so we don't care if you lose money. And it's like, okay, but you got to remember that's coming from somebody that their ideology, their personal political ideology is they hate capitalism. You got to remember that. And a lot of these players have that same ideology. So how do you talk business with somebody like that doesn't care? I mean, who doesn't want the business they work for to be fruitful and profitable and blah, blah? I mean, what are you doing there?
At the core of this blunt rejection lies a profound philosophical rift, underscored by Natasha Cloud's notorious remark that owners can simply absorb losses. That statement lays bare a mindset among certain players who, according to league sources, openly challenge the very principles of capitalism, turning any financial negotiation into a nearly impossible task. How can the league reach agreement on profitability when one side dismisses the concept of returns altogether? This entrenched ideology has created a gulf too wide to bridge, halting any meaningful progress. WNBA leadership now confronts an extraordinary dilemma, negotiating with part of its workforce that fundamentally rejects the basics of sustainable business. This is not simply a fight over numbers. It's a collision of values threatening the league's stability, leaving the organization scrambling to chart a viable financial path, while a union appears indifferent to fiscal reality. At the heart of the stalemate is this ideological struggle, driving both sides toward a potential crisis of historic proportions.
Included some concessions. I don't understand why all of this comes out late at night. They try to put this stuff out at night because they're trying to tamper down the blowback, and I'm not kidding you. All the news cycles are over with for the day, yada, yada, yada. That's exactly why they do this, so they won't get dragged as much throughout the day. I kid you not. Submitted a counter-proposal to the WNBA on Tuesday that included some concessions on revenue sharing and housing. Sources told
the Players Union, the WNBPA, dropped their revised counter-proposal late Tuesday night in a move widely seen as an attempt to bury the news and minimize public scrutiny. Timed to escape the daily news cycle, the submission included concessions on revenue sharing and key housing concerns. Yet, despite these adjustments, the league's response was swift and uncompromising, exposing the union's timing strategy as completely ineffective. The late-night rollout did nothing to soften the impact of the proposal. Instead, it underscored the wide gulf that still separates the two sides. What was intended as a tactic to temper public reaction backfired, drawing heightened attention to the already contentious negotiations. The league's immediate and public rejection, even after the stealthy submission, laid bare the deep divide over core economic principles, leaving the WNBPA's narrative control efforts in ruins and raising fresh questions about their strategy.
Proposed that the teams continue to provide housing in the first several years of the new agreement, but that in later years, teams no longer be obligated to provide housing for players, making close to the maximum salary on multi-year deals and receiving full salary protection. That makes sense. Why should they keep paying for housing if they're making all this money? I mean, it's like, go out on your own and live your own life. And all we do is we pay your salaries. That's wild. It's wild. WNBA teams are required to provide housing.
The union's demands are staggering, especially in light of the league's ongoing financial pressures. The WNBPA is now pushing for an average of 27.5% of gross revenue, calculated before any expenses are deducted over the term of the agreement. While slightly lower than their previous 31% demand, the figure remains completely unacceptable to the league. Their proposal also calls for 25% in year one, paired with a salary cap just below $9.5 million. The insistence on gross revenue rather than net earnings lies at the heart of the dispute, prompting AdamSilver's office to label the entire package as unrealistic. From the league's perspective, this approach is a direct route to financial disaster, as it's nearly impossible to sustain operations while sharing revenue before covering the substantial costs of running a professional sports organization. This single point alone threatens to derail the entire deal, highlighting a sharp disconnect between player expectations and the harsh realities of business.
Wow. WNBA fires back at Players Union over unrealistic counter proposal. I mean, if there had been ink involved in that statement, it wouldn't have been dry. And the WNBA swatted this joker down. AdamSilver said, nah, we're not doing that because for some reason you don't know the difference between gross revenue and net revenue. WNBA released a fiery statement late Tuesday night calling the Players Union latest collective bargaining agreement proposal.
The WNBA's anger isn't just about the percentage. It's about how the proposal defines gross revenue. The league maintains that sharing income before deducting expenses would saddle teams with hundreds of millions in losses, an outcome they cannot tolerate. Their demand is clear. Eliminate the gross concept entirely and adopt a model that reflects the true costs of operating a professional sports league. This isn't a trivial debate over wording. It's a fundamental clash over financial accounting that has brought talks to a standstill. The league's future depends on a sustainable economic framework, and the union's insistence on gross revenue is seen as an existential threat. This fight extends beyond simple allocation. It's a battle over the league's very financial structure, pitting player ambitions against the stark realities of profitability. For the WNBA, this definition is an unyielding red line.
Prior to that, included some concessions on several hot-button topics. You can't call that revenue sharing. I mean, come on. They dropped it 2.5%. The league wants them to drop the gross part altogether because it's gross. But the WNBA said its modifications were not enough, and the proposal as it stands, quote, would cause hundreds of millions of dollars of losses for our teams. Well, according to Natasha Cloud, just write it off. Write it off. No big deal. They don't care if these owners ever make any money off this league. It's so wild to me. We still need to complete two.
Complicating the negotiations further were the players' proposals on housing. They recommended that teams continue covering housing costs during the early years of the new agreement, but that responsibility would phase out for players earning near the maximum salary on multi-year contracts with full salary protection. On the surface, this seems reasonable. Why should teams foot housing costs for financially secure players? Yet the WNBA rejected the package outright, signaling that even these concessions were insufficient to offset the massive financial strain posed by gross revenue sharing. The league's sweeping dismissal highlights a broader, systemic problem beyond individual requests, exposing a deep skepticism about the economic feasibility of the union's overall plan. Even partial compromises couldn't move the needle.
How do you bargain with people that common sense is right out the door? And again, I don't think all these players believe that. I don't. But I think enough believe it. You've got enough Natasha Clouds in the mix to destroy the whole WNBA season. Because she thinks unrivaled's a thing. Okay. Because a Seattle owner can just write off the team because of real estate. Let me just keep this going. Yeah.
The WNBA's response came almost instantaneously. As one observer quipped, if ink had been involved, it wouldn't have had time to dry. AdamSilver's blunt rejection, delivered through a league spokesperson, underscored the speed and intensity of the dispute. The league made it clear that the union's latest tweaks were insufficient, projecting that the proposal would still generate an eye-popping $460 million in losses. This isn't a minor quarrel over a few points. It's a massive gap in financial projections. League leadership appears exasperated by what they see as the union's refusal to confront economic realities, responding with a forceful pushback that leaves no ambiguity. The rapidity and severity of the dismissal highlight not only the urgency of the negotiations, but also the WNBA's unwavering commitment to protecting its financial stability.
Instead of doing it, the problem is they're all part of a union, so they screwed themselves. That's the problem here. I don't think we're getting a season. That's the first time now I'll say that and you know they'll come to a deal at 10:50 p.m. one night in about 3 weeks. If a deal gets done, that's how it'll get done. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time.
The WNBA's response came almost instantaneously. As one observer quipped, if ink had been involved, it wouldn't have had time to dry. AdamSilver's blunt rejection, delivered through a league spokesperson, underscored the speed and intensity of the dispute. The league made it clear that the union's latest tweaks were insufficient, projecting that the proposal would still generate an eye-popping $460 million in losses. This isn't a minor quarrel over a few points. It's a massive gap in financial projections. League leadership appears exasperated by what they see as the union's refusal to confront economic realities, responding with a forceful pushback that leaves no ambiguity. The rapidity and severity of the dismissal highlight not only the urgency of the negotiations, but also the WNBA's unwavering commitment to protecting its financial stability.